Welcome to the Breathe and Balance class. We're going to be talking about the AL scan and how frequencies can help resolve your allergies by re-educating your immune system at a frequency level. Really, really cool stuff. I did not know these were possible things until I actually walked the path with this, and it's been fascinating. I think you all know who I am, but for those who asked for a recording, I'm going to just go over a little bit of my story, and how I got into this. In my late 20s, I started experiencing a lot of major debilitating health issues. A lot of them were neurological, a lot of them with digestion and energy. My sleep was affected, and doctors eventually resorted to just telling me they suspected multiple sclerosis, and it was going to be a matter of really seeing how fast I declined. There was no treatment, there was no plan, no medication that they wanted to use that they had any promise of helping. So it was a really good point for me to pivot my focus and whatever energy I had into being my own advocate, really, and changing everything that I knew around. I thought I was generally healthy. I thought I was eating healthy food. It turns out that a lot of my health issues came down to a dysregulated nervous system. I was in a state of hyperarousal. There was a lot of past trauma that I had not resolved, a lot of personal things and, my environment that were affecting my health and my immune system. So the body has a threshold, right? We know when we're getting close to meeting that threshold, and our body always keeps the score. I believe that's a famous book by Dr. Kolk. He made that famous. The body always keeps the score of what's going on. In 2015, I started really getting proactive about like finding, whatever woo-woo person, iridology, whatever was off the kilter from Western medicine because that had failed me. I was game for it. What did I have to lose? Not really anything at that point. So in 2015 was when I had my first foot zoning session, and I went home and slept for 3 hours. And to give you a little story on how impactful that was, I wasn't really able to sleep at all. Like I was so fatigued and so tired, my body wasn't sleeping. So I was just kind of a fried mess, a hot mess. So that really inspired me to like keep learning about the effects that had. I eventually would certify in foot zone therapy, and that kind of just started to turn the page of, I had to give up teaching music, but I became a practitioner in really the health sciences. And more recently, in the last 2 years, I went through massage school, and I love that piece. I love the alignment and the fascia and the emotional release. The body has all these fun access points, and frequency medicine is one of them. So, we're going to talk about the AO scan. All right. So basically, the AO scan used to be a very large, expensive machine that you had to go and have nodes hooked up to you and different feedback loops to give the information of where your cells and bioenergetics were vibrating at or oscillating at. So it's been quite an evolutionary, of course, all of our technology advances as we go through time, right? We know this with our phones now. We used to have to dial up for internet. So many things in the last 20, 30 years have just this huge, profound shift. And this is one of those technologies that was introduced to me in 2022. So Lawrence Swenson is the founder of this, and he essentially they adopted a son with cerebral palsy. He wasn't even diagnosed because he wasn't missing any of his landmarks at that point in development. So they did not know that he had these inhibitions to his development. So Lawrence Swenson had the resources, the money, the time to basically travel the world, and he was able to really get into some of the fairs and science shows and things that had a lot of what you would consider biofeedback or bioresonance technologies as they were being developed. So he was able to theta chambers. I don't know if anyone's heard of that, but bioresonance essentially came from the 1980s from the Russian space programs where they really started honing in on using this technology to track and get feedback from their astronauts in space. So they were able to get feedback through sending a certain type of wave to the astronauts and have it come back. So that's the bioresonance part. There's like an exchange of these waves coming back, interacting with your cells and bouncing or coming back and giving feedback. So the biofeedback is an accurate way to talk about it, but bioresonance is something I feel like is more accurate because when we're in resonance, just like a tuning fork and it has a certain frequency, it has a hum, it stays that way, right? When it's in a healthy resonance to the way that it should be. When we are out of resonance, the body can manifest illness. Even the CDC accepts fully at this point that more than 90% of our disease is affected by stress. So, stress affects every metabolic pathway, the way that we detox, the way we digest food, the way we interact. And then we know that the genome is now, you're no longer the sum of, if your parents had cancer, on your mother's side there was breast cancer, we no longer assume that we are very prone to that due to the genome being set, but rather the epigenetics. So I think that's a fascinating thing just to throw in there without going too deep, that we are basically the sum of our environment, and that our environment plays on the way that our body will manifest health or disease. I certainly found that in my recovery
What?
to wellness.
Oh.
So,
Mhm.
all right. So we're going to be going through not all of these scans. These are the scans for those who are not familiar. This is kind of like the home menu of what the AL scan offers. Today, for the sake of time, we are focusing more on the Cephi and the homeoenergetics aspects of the scan because we're here to learn about how it can affect our immune systems and hear from Natalie, how she's had this incredible transformation in just using the imprint function of the software. For most of my clients, I have them start with inner voice. Can everyone see the screen okay? Is it showing up okay?
Mhm. Yep.
So the inner voice is just one of these 10 different types of scans that you can run with the software. And I have them start with this because it picks up on over 12 different octaves, or sorry, 70 different octaves, 12 notes, and each note in your voice correlates with a different emotion, color, and system in the body. And from this data, it identifies the top four emotions that are out of range from that moment in real time. So it produces, based on that data, just kind of like a lie detector test, this custom-based frequency music. Because music is kind of, like I say, the sweet spot with the frequencies kind of masking the medicine. So if you were just to kind of isolate the frequencies, it would sound kind of like a buzz or a hum. But there is nice, pleasant music that kind of masks that. But I have clients start here because you can have really profound shifts. I have a new young mom using this right now that was just talking to me about her stress and her, she's just always feeling razzled and in that hyper arousal state, like most of us can get stuck in. And she started using these and noticed within less than a minute, she just downregulated. She was able to notice, well, I haven't been breathing. Breathing is such a fundamental aspect of our health. And when we don't have access to breath, we can't tone and regulate the vagal nerve or the way that our nervous system can downregulate and shift from that state of I need to hurry and get something done versus I need to rest and relax and digest now. So inner voice is a marvelous aspect of this. And one of the first ways this software was developed was through inner voice. These other scans have been added through time. It's a little bit about what that menu looks like and what the reports look like. We call these the sub emotions. So this would represent one of these very custom sub emotions that this person was dealing with in one of these 4 pages that are produced from an inner voice scan. So, seeing this person's dealing with grief, disappointment, nervous exhaustion also gives me great feedback for where there might be nutrients missing or a certain body part or system out of balance or what could be causing this. So, there's a lot of information here, and it really can be remedied by listening to the tones and regulating and clearing those emotions. Another area that I focus on with clients is being able to build their supplement library, their individual supplement library. I asked someone at a library class one time how many supplements they were taking, and they were like, a lot. I was like, well, how many? And she was like, six. And I was like, oh, not six. I mean, if we study nutrition, we know that we have the fat soluble vitamins, vitamin D, we have the regular multivitamin that we should be taking, but a lot of people have no idea what those supplements should be. They don't know that our trace minerals are missing from our food. They don't know that when we are under a state of heightened stress or even on the ADD or autistic spectrum, there's a huge spectrum, pretty much everyone's on it on some level, that we burn through B12 way faster than a neurotypical brain. So there are the one a day tagline that goes with supplements is very toxic. I feel like to our culture because we're taught to like put pills in a little container, take them every day, and we're set, right? The body has different nutritional needs every minute, every hour. So certainly every day, based on our environment, our stress, our immune system. So all of that matters. So being able to know like what you need daily is really important. Okay, so we're going to talk about the main focus, and I feel like is the powerhouse of the scanner is the Cepheid, the subtle energy frequency imprinter. Doesn't that sound just so woo-woo? Subtle energy frequency. It sounds like the biggest scam ever. So basically, without overcomplicating here, we have a library. I'm going to just go ahead and turn it to that page. We have a library with these different drop-down menus. And we have what that little screen shows up on your phone as if these are some of the remedies that could show up. You know, if you just wanted to go by symptom, I'm having a gum infection, I'm having a bladder infection, I have low blood pressure. So there's a lot of frequencies, I mean, over 1,000. So it's a big, big library built into the system for you to be able to imprint into water, into high quality metals, jewelry, gold and silver work really well because they hold a frequency. Today we're going to be talking about these little pellets. This is how I work around long-term allergies. Someone who has been dealing with something chronic for years. I'm not just talking about like a little, a little thing like where I might, oh my goodness, this is so distracting to me right now. I'm going to have to turn from that page. Sorry. Um, but I'm talking about long-term allergies like pet allergies, food allergies, things that are in the immune system that we know we have a reaction to. We can re-educate the system. There's several ways of doing this. Frequency medicine is probably one of the most gentle ways that I've come across. But we have a like hypertonic reaction where the immune system creates more inflammation around a pathogen than it needs to. So a few reasons that could be happening is we have a backed up system. Our lymph could be clogged. Our bowels don't move. We don't sweat enough. We're not sleeping well. We're not breathing deeply, right? There's a lot of reasons that play into why toxins build up in our system, kind of stacking the staggering effect of, okay, this one thing inflamed me. Now this is inflaming me. We might have a friend, or maybe that's our personal experience, that we know is allergic to everything. My son tells me this poor classmate of his is literally allergic to everything via her blood work tests, dust, grass, air. I'm like, how do you live when you're allergic to everything? But it's because, her detox pathways, she's not getting the nutrition and the building blocks to clear the pathogens to allow her immune system to normalize. So, homeopathy. Who's familiar with homeopathics? Who's used them? Tracy has a background as a massage therapist, right, Tracy?
Yeah. Yep.
Yep. And Natalie, of course, you're here as a guest speaker, so I know that you know them now. Tamara, have you ever used homeopathic remedies? Do you know what they are? Okay, so I'm just going to show everybody. This is my collection. See if I can get it out of the blur. This is one of my containers of homeopathic remedies. Okay, so I've been using these for over 20 years. I used them for my babies. When they were teething, I used them for nausea. I used them for sleep issues, car sickness. There's a remedy for pretty much everything. And they were very, very safe. There's actually considered that there are no constituents of a whatever plant medicine was used to create the remedy. So it's considered, pseudoscience because, of course, if there's nothing in it, it can't do anything. But what we know from working with homeopathy is the energy frequency is still there. The imprint is still there of the constituents of that plant. And that has the interaction with your immune system, with your energy, with your cells. So essentially, the scanner has over 300 homeopathic frequencies, cell salts, no-sodes. And no-sodes are kind of an interesting sideline, a little more advanced to go into. I won't go into it here, but a little history on homeopathy is a natural system of medicine based on the principles of like cures like, or the law of similars, meaning a substance that causes symptoms in a healthy person can be used in highly diluted forms to stimulate the body's self-healing response in someone experiencing similar symptoms. Developed in the late 18th century by Dr. Samuel Hahnemann, homeopathy relies on ultra diluted, and when I say ultra diluted, I mean like they're taking a drop of, say, snake venom. Say we're using this. This is one of those interesting remedies that are for allergic reactions or poison ivy or something that causes that type of immune response in the body. So say they're taking the tiniest, most minuscule amount of snake venom and they're diluting it in alcohol base and they're diluting that again, taking one drop of another 50 milliliters of an alcohol base. They do this 30 times. They consider that a highly diluted. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, if anyone knows the answer to this. I don't have my doctorate in homeopathy or anything like that. You can get it, but maybe one day. But if they dilute it anymore, I believe that is considered a stronger remedy than the one that had more constituents in it. So that's the law like that runs homeopathy is it retains the energetic imprint of the original substance believed to support the body's innate ability to restore balance. And it's used for, like I said, a wide variety from even chronic pain, stomach aches, allergies, insomnia, and it's considered very safe. So there's a lot of research and study. Even in one thing that was interesting is that homeoprophylaxis is the study of using homeopathy to immunize. So they've done this, a lot of studies in different countries where they've actually used it to immunize. There was a case study, I believe it was in Canada, I read a couple years ago, where a homeopathic practitioner lost her license because she cured a little boy of rabies using homeopathy. She cured him. Yep, rabies is still a thing. People are still getting it. But people didn't like that she used homeopathy, so she lost her license. But I don't think, that regular Western medicine was helping him out. He was hiding under tables, he was biting people. There's no cure for rabies. So it was interesting. All right, so some of the different things.
So can I just ask
Yes.
was she, why did she lose her license? Was it malpractice? Because she
I think
shouldn't
it
have
just was
used that on
considered.
him?
I would have to look up the story again, but they didn't like that she used homeopathy. I don't know if it was, whoops.
She should have taken him to the doctor and not,
I think they did. Like the story was
yeah,
like they did, but the doctors were like, we have no idea what to do. So it was
yeah.
just considered kind of off
So
the
it's kind
guided
of
path.
like the witch hunt thing.
Mhm. And they were like, we don't like that you used homeopathy for this. You're losing your license.
Wow.
I'll have to find that story. It was interesting.
Hmm.
All right. So these are some of the things that we can do with the frequencies. And just to name a few that show up for me, The mold detox comes up quite a bit. We all have, especially in the winter, mold spores are a big deal, the fall and winter. Um, Dental detox. I just wish that wasn't happening over here. There we, oh, that doesn't work. Pause that. There I go. I did it. Dental detox came up a lot for me after I had my dental surgery.
Mhm.
Cerebral detox will come up a lot for someone who chronically doesn't get enough sleep, where they're detoxing the lymphatic system, the lymph of the brain. So that will come up a lot for people who have that hyperarousal state, who aren't down regulating well at night. So there's also, the aspect of running the scans and seeing what comes up for you and helping connect those dots where you can become, your own advocate in a really educated way. These are some interesting testimonials, and I included this one in the middle particularly because I had a personal experience. This is showing the doctor recommended surgical removal under anesthesia for this little girl in the middle. And after 48 hours of running the Cepheid frequencies broadcasted, and when they say directly on the eye, they just mean they made a playlist for her eye, for this client as the target. And you can kind of see that right here. That was her. I'm sure they didn't mean to include her name, but it's there. And they made a frequency playlist specifically for that. And after 48 hours, that was the improvement. So that looks like a cyst to me. And
Mhm.
probably a removal would not have been a bad idea. And maybe she ended up still getting one, but you can see the inflammation is vastly different after 48 hours. So I had my niece, her parents reached out to me. She was 17 years old a couple of years ago when I was pretty new to the software still. It will be 3 years in May that I've been using it. And they were just like, they have no idea what to do. She could not open either one of her eyes. They were both very swollen and shut. She was having a lot of anxiety, a lot of other like emotional, threshold symptoms of being very maxed out in stress. Doctors gave her steroids and a number of other medications, antibiotics. Nothing was helping. All we started doing with her was I was like, send me her voice. I will send you an inner voice report and listen to those tones. That's all we did. She did that for 3 days, and her dad sent me a picture of her opening her eye pretty much completely all the way in 3 days just from listening to those tones. So they ended up like signing up and learning how to use it for their family. But there is a learning curve with the software. So I've tried since then to really be supportive of that learning process and help people understand how to start with it slowly. But again, the inner voice alone is really powerful. That's
I'm really excited to share this. I grew up in St. George, and
Oh,
I don't remember, the only allergic reaction I remember having is I've always to grass and weeds. I'd go out and roll around in the grass or help my parents with weeds. I'd get the little red bumps all over my arms and have to go shower or bathe and get all of that off. But normal, just allergies that you experience with your sinuses and lungs and everything. I don't remember ever having that growing up. But I moved to Salt Lake to go to college when I was about 19. And ever since the first 3 or 4 winters I got here, I had chronic sinusitis all winter long. I was just continually sick. And I didn't make the connection for years that allergies was behind that. I had some structural issues with my sinuses, deviated septum and some bone spurs that were making the physical space small so that any swelling that occurred just kind of retained all of the infection. Um, so I suffered with it for years without really knowing what was the cause. When I was let's see, in 99, 2000, and 2000, I had sinus surgery and they removed all of the physical problems. So that was wonderful. And at that point, I realized, okay, I had something else. So that's when I reached out for some help with allergies and testing. Um, the issues I was having Mind you, this is like 19 to 26 now, so many years. Chronic headaches, just daily. Um, the sinus on my left side was just always so painful. And every winter I would cough all winter long. Um, People would go to give me a hug, or my husband would put his arm around me at night as we're falling asleep, and I would instantly start coughing. Um, so it was really affecting all parts of my life. And so I sought out help from an allergist, and I started on taking the shots. They test you and find out what you're allergic to and dilute that down, kind of like what Helen was describing. And I would get shots, and each course lasted 3 to 5 years, and I did it twice. Um, by the end of that, and after having the surgery, um, a lot of the symptoms were gone, but I couldn't have my house windows open. I still had to take Zyrtec or something similar, Nasonex or Flonase, um, pretty much for about 8 months of the year. Um, Summer was okay, but the rest of the time, because of dust, especially in the winter, I had to have those two things, or I would just cough continually. And then they would add a steroid for the winter months. Um, I could never have the windows open, like in the car or in my home, which, affected my family. John loves to go to sleep with the windows open, and he could do that, but then I couldn't breathe the next day. So, my kids wanted pets and couldn't have them. We finally got my son and a dog, but it had to be an outside dog, and which just broke my heart. And it was so hard on him. He wanted him to be inside. And um, let me just switch this around. But this is Gus. We've had him for about 8 years now. And it's just been the last 3 months that he's been able to be inside with me now, after working with Helen. And it's amazing. It's So what Helen, I'm sorry, I don't present very often, so
You're
I'm
great.
jumping all over the place. Um, anyway, I just really, after taking the shots and having all of the inhalers and everything throughout the winter, I just kind of felt like and now I'm 55, so 19 to 55 is a long time to have dealt with all of this. And I met Helen through my daughter. My daughter had a terrible concussion, and Helen was so helpful and integral in her recovering to the point that she has. And I was so excited to just find out what Helen could help me with. And when I started seeing Helen, it was last May, I think, right? Almost a year ago.
Yep.
Um, I was coughing so badly. I talked to her about what package would be best for me, and massage was a big part of that package, and she couldn't do it. I was just coughing. I couldn't breathe deeply. Um, wasn't sleeping
I
well.
remember you couldn't even take a deep breath without coughing, like one
Yes,
deep breath, and you just looked so just drawn and worn out.
yes, I was completely. Um, so she introduced me to the AO scanner and said, I want you to start scanning twice a day and send me the scans and listen to the inner voice daily. And I want you to go to the Cephi section. And back then, when I started that, they've expanded the allergy
Mhm.
section so much. But I think the only two back then were general and outdoor
Outdoor. I
allergies.
think they had the seafood one, but now they have specific
So
flowers,
many. Yeah,
pet.
so many. So for about 3 months, I just did that religiously. And, I would I work full time. Well, back then I was working full time and um, lots going on with family. So it was hard, but I chose the time of year after tax season that I could focus on myself for a bit over the summer, and I'm so glad because that made it possible. And I just learned to, the AO scanner, when you do that, it takes a minute. What is the scan called that I would do every day? I've forgotten
The
the name
easy
of it.
scan.
Yeah, the
You do
easy
the
scan.
easy scan, and that combines. It takes about 5 to 6 minutes, but it's reading your voice. So you get the 10 seconds of your voice in there. Then it's also
Yeah.
doing the full vitals and that bioresonance feedback. You're getting that information of what did not optimize well. So you're able to see, okay, a lot of this, you know, crossed over through the frequencies. And you can see that on the report looks better than before, but a lot of it doesn't. That's where your body is struggling to come into homeostasis.
Yes. So it does take a few minutes to run that. And so I had to figure out how to do that with my morning schedule. And I would just start it while I was getting ready in the morning. And then by the time I got down to the kitchen, I had the results and I could pull out of the cabinet whatever I needed and imprint whatever I needed. And then I got the sugar pills so that I could not have to do the scanner. I could just use
Mhm.
those for the general allergies. And so since May, yeah, I really noticed a huge difference going into the fall. And I was so excited to go through the winter. This is the first winter since I can remember, um, for over 30 years. I've been married for 30 years, that I haven't had to have an inhaler. I don't use Zyrtec. I don't use Flonase. My beautiful Gus is inside with us all the time now. I have another little pet who he's asleep because he's too yippy. I wouldn't let him
You
be
drugged
a
him.
part of this meeting. But he's a Havanese, so totally different breed, and he's more hypoallergenic. But we had to give away one other hypoallergenic Maltese when my youngest was born because I had to stop taking all of the allergy things I was taking. She's now 16. And found out, oh yeah, if you want a nurse, you can't take any of that. And so I was like, oh. So it broke my oldest daughter's heart. We had to find a new home for that
Oh.
when my youngest came along, and so it's just been life altering to one, be able to breathe deeply, um, give hugs and receive hugs, and um, have my husband's heavy arm. He's a big guy, 6'6", and doesn't throw me into a coughing fit. I can have the windows open. I can have my dogs present whenever I want. It's life changing, and that's all I've done. I just did that religiously, and I don't do the AO scanner daily now. I know I should, but I do it several times a week, and I listen to the inner voice as I fall asleep. It's just a very calming um, effect when I go to sleep, and so I get that in pretty much daily.
That's
And
awesome. And one
yeah,
thing, thank you so much for sharing that. That's amazing. Like there are aspects of your story I didn't even know. Like that's really nice to hear from you. And I wanted Natalie to come on today because she not only has an incredible story, but she also, I feel like, really, when she says she did it religiously, she was sending me scans every single day. She was very, very, very on top of doing the imprints. And the imprints, she wasn't up to taking a lot of supplements. So even though they were in her library, the scanner was very intelligent about what it gave her because she was already backed up. So to give her a detox herbal remedy was actually going to make her nauseous and unwell. And we found your threshold several times, and we really worked very gently with opening up those pathways that had been backed up and really congested for decades. I mean, you're talking over 30 years of congestion and
yes,
built up with toxins. So when we realize that breath, just the ability to take a deep breath, I don't think a lot of people understand like the underlying issues with allergies is not just, oh, I have sinus pressure and my throat is scratchy. It's actually affecting every single cell of your body. It's taking a lot of resources and energy to keep you just functioning. So when we have a pet allergy, a food allergy, a dust allergy, a mold allergy, whatever it is, it's affecting our immune system and impacting our ability to put energy into cellular, autophagy, cleaning out what is old and moving in what we need, the nutrients and blood and oxygen that we need just from breathing. Like, so when we're dealing with any type of allergy, we feel that restriction and that tightness. It's also affecting our sleep, right? When you wake up coughing and you can't breathe. So, thank you so much for sharing that, Natalie, but
You're
also
welcome.
just so happy that you're doing better. So, so happy.
Me too.
All right, I'm going to see if I can shift back to being the host because I just wanted to talk a little bit about my. I feel like Zoom is so confusing. I'm just not a pro. This is
Me.
after I like practiced. All right, that's not it. No, I can't see how to shift me back to being the host, how to be the remove spotlight. There it is. Does that work now where I'm the big person? It does, Tamara?
It
That
does.
works?
It does for me. I don't have it set to spotlight anybody, but now it does. Oh, now you're giant.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I had a similar experience, nothing close to Natalie's experience. Like I felt bad for myself that I had like seasonal allergies. I would complain how they were from February till October, and I've had them for like 18, 19. And through 20s, 30s, they just got worse. And I would do, of course, try to keep it with natural things. I even as a clinical herbalist, I have several supplements to help open the pleura of the lungs, to help regulate histamines. But I would put myself on these, completely restrictive diets. I wouldn't have gluten, I wouldn't have sugar, and it helped minimally, like very, very minimal. So I wasn't really able to enjoy, and I love gardening, like gardening, being outside, that's my jam. And I wasn't really ever able to go out and do any of that. Just from the second I woke up in the morning, I felt like I could take my whole throat out and like cheese grater it and then put it back in. That's how itchy and irritated it was. There's that lovely analogy for all of you. You're welcome. But then also, I think it was the hay fever that we get here. We refer to the alfalfa starting to grow up in February. I think that's really what started getting me. But then your allergies change. Your immune system kind of says, okay, that's not as big of a deal. And so you might have to re-imprint. So I'm going to just share that screen with you now. So this is the screen you'll see. Everyone
Okay.
see that screen okay? Okay, so I
Yes.
just wanted to show you. It's a little bit easier, I feel like, to see this on a phone. I'm just going to go back to what the main menu looks like in case anyone who's using the program wants to have a little help with this. So they have changed it a little bit too. Where I talk about making custom playlists, that's a different class. Today we're talking about specifically for allergies. And I will go into the homeopathics. And the easiest way here is to search by symptom. And when you're searching by symptom, it is an elaborate library. And look at all these allergy ones, allergic reactions. This might be, just something very general or broad where you're having a skin reaction or an irritant somewhere, an egg allergy, flour. Like Natalie was saying, it used to just have general allergies. But one thing I've noticed they have done, Natalie, is when I do click on outdoor allergies, it used to have like six or seven, and now it only has three. So I think they've really narrowed down the specifics around those remedies,
Okay.
what they are. So what I did to essentially re-educate my immune system to where I was actually pretty shocked that I was not going to have, like, I was just expecting a season of allergies again. I was like, yeah, it's allergy season. Wait, I have this tool. Let's try this. And I imprinted for outdoor allergies and just used this on my phone. I did the 20-second imprint. And for that, I just do simultaneous, and I'm not going to play this because it will make some noise. We don't have to keep the noise on. A lot of people get confused that because inner voice we have to listen to. This also has programming to create noise. We don't need to listen. It is a subtle frequency, meaning it is quiet. We don't have to sit around and listen to this noise. This is something we imprint into. For me specifically, you can do water, a little shot glass. It has to be glass. They don't recommend plastic or metal or any type of material. Glass is very good for holding a resonance. So Solex did a good job creating this system where these little blank sugar pellets are very similar to what you'd buy in a grocery store in the dissolvable imprints. So they're very safe, they're blank, and they give you these little foil boxes to put them in because if you travel or even just do the imprint and want it to last well for a week, you want to be able to keep it protected from other frequencies, even different light frequencies or EMFs or even music or a loud sound coming from a radio that can affect the remedy and the purity of that frequency because remember, it's very subtle. So I would imprint, and this was all just an experiment that I didn't know for sure if it was going to work, or I thought, what do I have to lose? I'm getting that itchy throat and feeling miserable and very, very tired. So let's give this a try. So I would run these frequencies for outdoor allergies because that's what I was dealing with, and put this on my phone, run the imprint, and take. Now, the way that you take these when you're working with homeopathy for someone who's new, you would take about 5 to 6 under the tongue. You put them into the caps so that you're not touching them with again, your energy or your fingers or your, sweat or whatever, and you put them up under your tongue. That's the same way you would work with any of these that you buy from the store. So I did that and I did it, really, really consistently for like the first day. But after the first day, I was so much better, I forgot to do it again. And I was like, that's interesting because I mean, I'm a believer, but I don't think it does it that good. So I let it go for a week and I was still fine. And I was like, better than fine. I was like, okay, maybe the allergies that I was allergic to are just maybe, I don't know, maybe it got cold again and things just kind of died out. I was very, very skeptical, right? It was not an experience I'd had before, so I did not understand it. Even though I was a believer in homeopathy, I had never done imprints off my phone into a bottle. That was new, right? That was taking it to a new level. So what I learned was by May, I'm usually like just full blown into my allergy system. As I went to the Tulip Festival at Thanksgiving Point, and I was just like smelling the flowers and loving nature, and it was completely symptom free. It was like a miracle. It was like I wasn't even on my herbal antihistamines. I was completely allergy free for the first time in over 20 years. So that was kind of amazing. What I did notice is when I would have any type of symptoms of my allergies coming back through that year, I would re-imprint and do the exact same process because different things start coming into bloom. Your immune system's going to have to react to that. So I had to be vigilant about doing it about every 6 weeks to 2 months. And that was just something I noticed. Okay, I'm having a few symptoms here, a little tiny bit of a scratchy throat. I would do the same process, take them for about 2 to 3 days. Just when I remembered, oh, it's time to pop 5 of those in there, the same type of thing. So it was very consistent and simple. And yeah. So far this year, I have imprinted barely this last week. I just started sneezing a lot the one day. No itchy throat, no watery eyes, just sneezing. I was like, it's probably time for me to educate my immune system that we don't need to have any allergies going on. So that's my story with it. It's not as it's not as amazing. I mean, I think it's amazing, but I'd never had the severity that Natalie dealt with. But this is something I'm teaching clients to do because it's very repeatable. And so many different clients are finding that not just the imprints for allergies, but other things are really, really helping, even with mold toxicity, parasites, different food allergies and food sensitivities like gluten. So anyway, that's about all I got to say about that. Does anyone have any questions?
I love it for sleep. I put on that Sleep Easy.
Oh, you
And
do homeopathic imprints for sleep?
yes.
Oh, nice.
Well, the inner voice.
Oh,
Sorry,
okay.
inner voice. Yeah.
Well, it does have one for sleep, for insomnia. So I was just curious.
Yeah.
There's so many different remedies here. I mean, dairy intolerance, they have now a lot for ADD and ADHD, which, I don't think there's anybody that could go wrong with that. Anemia, iron absorption. But yeah, that's just the Cepheid library. You can always also just go in if you do happen to be like knowing that you need, like, for instance, Nux vomica is one that I have really relied on for flu-like symptoms when you're feeling like you're going to get the type of flu that you throw up. Nux vomica has been my go-to for a long time. I was scheduled again for a great big huge day, and all these people around me are falling like flies, just getting sick and dying all over the place. Kids are staying home from school. I'm like, I can't get that. So I imprinted for flu and used it like that to boost up my immune system around flu and flu bugs and different variants of COVID, which is all in the library. And they actually have them specific to that. So if I went in there and said that I was having nausea or flu-like symptoms, it will give me a list, and then I scan for which ones resonate best for my system. So really, you don't have to know flu fears. I would say that I had fears of the flu. It's funny. But you really don't have to know homeopathy to be able to make use of the library. And the library has expanded. Like, I remember when it was just in the Cepheid library, it was just some homeopathics. Now they have minerals and essential oils that you can scan for to see which ones are good there. I know, Natalie, you were telling me that you use the flowers.
I love the flowers, and I would just scan to see what came up, and I was always so surprised. Sometimes I'm like, yep, I'm totally feeling that. And other times I was surprised at what came up, but I'm like, I'm just gonna do it, see what happens.
And a lot of times with the emotions, like flowers, if anyone's not familiar, the Bach remedies, Dr. Bach was the basically the founder of like Rescue Remedy, which is another type of homeopathic, but using the essence of flowers and the emotional connection between what that flower and how it relates to our emotions. But what I love about it is it does connect like to your reports with inner voice. And it's fun to kind of get your report from inner voice and be like, okay, I'm seeing jealousy or greed or, nervous exhaustion, and then run the flower scan for a little more support and imprint into water. I love the Bach remedies. Again, they're very expensive, and I have a whole collection of those, a whole collection, like 64 different flower remedies that I've purchased, and now I just don't use them. But what I do use is the alcohol-based tincture I can use to imprint. So they're not wasted. They're just not customized the way that I can through this. So, all right. Tracy, do you have any questions?
Um, I I don't I'm it's very fascinating to me. I've had some experience with the imprinting through a homeopathic doctor that I went to for a couple of things. I uh, I haven't had I do I do last fall I had an allergic reaction to, I think it must have been tumbleweed. It was when the tumbleweeds were ferociously blooming. Um, and my eyes swelled up so badly. And, I went to an allergist and he did the skin pricking thing. And
Mhm.
boy, the tumbleweed one really blew up, along with a lot of others. I I have had more troubles with allergies the older I get. Um,
Mhm.
he told me that I was allergic to dogs, and I said, "Well, that's too bad."
That's too bad.
You know? And that was a fairly mild one, but he said, "I understand about dogs. I react to dogs, but I have one, and I'm not getting rid of it. So I understand. Just do what you can do." But he of course gave me some antihistamine and some uh, uh, told me to get some Flonase type thing and that. But I haven't had good luck with those
Yeah.
really helping.
Yeah.
Um, and um, I I would love to have something that fixes me instead of just treats symptoms.
Just a Band-Aid. Yep, for sure. Well, that's interesting. Yeah. All right. Well, Tamara, did this answer questions you have about your allergies for your kitties? Tamara's a cat enthusiast. She's got lots of kitties and she's allergic to cats.
I'm allergic to
Yeah.
everything. Natalie, my experience at the allergist office is very much like yours. And those shots did not work at all for me. Like to the point
Yeah.
of like, oh, well, maybe you have something wrong with your sinuses because they're not working for you. And I'm like, pretty sure it's just allergies. So thanks.
Yeah.
You do
Here's
have to
another
be your own
inhaler.
advocate.
Oh, yeah.
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 And
So,
breathing through your nose, like breathing through your nose is something I really focus on with clients because when we're doing the cogno movement, the neuro remapping, and we just draw on that breath or whatever other thing we're doing. If someone can't breathe through their nose, they're generally a mouth breather, and that is a telltale sign that they have a dysregulated nervous system.
Mm.
That's a very interesting thing. So a deviated septum, a clogged septum, whatever it is, really need to get it looked at. I just forced Adam to use a neti pot. And
Oh,
by force, I mean I bought it for him, put the saline solution in, and sat there and babysat him while he did it. And he acted like a huge baby about it, but it was a horrible thing. And then it actually helped him breathe because he's basically blocked on the left side. But yep,
the Navage is pretty great. I don't know if you've heard of that thing.
what is it?
It's called Navage. It's basically a neti pot, but it's like battery operated. You don't have to like hang your head over the sink to do it. It's pretty great. I'm just gonna put that out there.
Let's talk about that later.
Yeah, let's talk.
I mean, I enjoy seeing him suffering like doing that. That's fun. All the meanwhile, like I'm doing it for his benefit. I think that's fun.
there's a little bit of sadism
Just
in
a
all
tiny bit.
therapists. Yeah.
Just a little bit. It's all good. He's grateful at the end of the day, I think. All right. Well, thank you all for coming. I'm going to wrap this up and end the meeting. And if anyone has any questions or wants to reach out, and even there is a 7-day free trial that I can send you, and you can just get login information. It will come through your email, and you can just start playing with it. If you do
Mhm.
that, I will give you access to my training where you want to kind of learn how to like create your account and your profile. It is pretty easy the way that I've set up my training so that you can just do it on your own. But I'm certainly here to support you if you have any questions. I will even jump on a call and just walk you through the process. But yeah, don't be afraid of the learning curve and don't be afraid to sit with something that you don't understand and something that's new like this. I mean, for me, I just was kind of like blown away that this was a thing and that we have access to technology like this. And I don't know why I had so much like apprehension about it. I just wanted to, I guess I'm very analytical and I wanted to understand the sciencey part, and I'm still trying to understand it. So that was me. But yeah, it is the 7-day trial. If you decide, you know what, that's long enough to do your imprints and see if there's a difference with your allergies. So no price commitment there, just time. And you can certainly, if you don't have the homeopathic, like the little glass pellets, you can do it in water and just take a little shot of water. That does that does great. Just the reason I used the homeopathic pellets was I didn't want to continually imprint every time I needed a shot of this frequency medicine. I wanted to have it just there so that, oh, I'm feeling a scratchy throat, there my imprints are. And that imprint will last even 2 months or more if you keep it in the foil box. So I'm not kidding when I say that every member of our family has their own foil box with their own name on it. So when they have a thing I need to imprint for them, even my doggies do. Even my doggies do. This is Ava's. Yep, when she eats too
Oh,
much chocolate.
yeah. Me too. Will it fix that for me? Yeah.
What do you imprint for
No.
chocolate? I needed that a while back for my little dog. What did you imprint it with?
What did I do for chocolate? I actually will just go through like her symptoms. So I just say
Okay.
by symptoms. So she's throwing up and feeling nauseous, and I would do cerebral detox because chocolate is a neurotoxin for dogs. So
Okay.
Mhm.
cerebral detox would be a really good one to put in there.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Good
and
to
she will
know.
lick them. She will lick them because they're sweet and sugary, so she likes them.
Yeah.
Little diva. She's a beast.
I need to
Tracy.
run. Helen,
Okay,
thank you
we're
so
all done.
much.
Thank
And
you.
I'll be in touch.
Okay, very good. Okay, bye, Tracy.
And thank you, Natalie, for your story. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you. I hope it helps.
All right. Natalie, thank you so much for sharing. That was huge.
You're
And
welcome.
all right. Okay,
Thank you.
I'll
Bye-bye.
let everybody